Zach D Films, 24 million. Let's see what Zach D Films shorts has to offer. Why World War I soldiers peed on rags.
They would pee on rags, then tie them around their faces. You see, in World War I, enemy soldiers released chlorine gas toward the trenches. And if soldiers breathed in this gas, their lungs burned, making it impossible to breathe. So the pee-soaked rags would weaken the gas, protecting their lungs just enough for them to survive. But it turns out that plain old water was just as effective, meaning the pee was never necessary.
They literally peed on rags for no reason. I'm suing the military if I ever had to go through this because y'all just made me do that for no reason.
With scissors, they cut away the butterfly's damaged wing. Then they take a wing from a dead butterfly, matching the size and pattern. A tiny line of super glue is brushed along the edge, and the new wing is pressed into place. A soft powder is sprinkled to stop the glue from sticking to the wrong spots, and within minutes, the butterfly can fly again.
Wait, butterflies can't grow their wings back? Once they lose a wing, they lost it forever?
He built a 40-foot fence around his neighbor's house, blocking out the sunlight, and newspapers called it the spite fence. You see, a rich man wanted an entire city block for his mansion, but one neighbor refused to sell. Since the rich man owned all the land around him, he just boxed the house in with a massive wall, killing the garden and leaving his family in darkness. It stayed up for over 25 years, but when they finally died, their children sold it to the rich man's family. But a year later, an earthquake tore down the entire block.
That's real? Karma is a bitch. I was gonna say, y'all supposed to stand on business for your family. If your family didn't sell it, do not sell it to the ops. Stand on business. But hey, if the whole thing fell down, fuck them. You know what I mean? Fuck them.
After you're cremated, your ashes are mixed with metal salts to make vibrant colors before they're carefully sealed inside firework shells.
They got dead people in fireworks? No wonder they are illegal every day out the year besides one day. That's so fucked up. That can't be real. That can't be true, man.
Your family members can even choose the colors and the order of the fireworks show. When the fireworks are launched, they shoot hundreds of feet up into the sky. So when you die, your loved ones can watch you go out with a bang.
It sounds like a W. This sounds more of a personalized experience. I thought they used that for everybody. Like every time you die, they put a little piece of you in fireworks and sell it.
He suddenly choked on a piece of steak, causing him to collapse. His roommate Mike called 911, and he was rushed to the hospital, still unconscious. But at the hospital, the doctors accidentally switched the roommates' identities because they sort of looked alike. This meant that they thought the man who choked was actually his roommate Mike, so they used the wrong name and medical records by mistake. Doctors put him on life support and called the family listed on Mike's records. And Mike's sister was told her brother was brain dead. Heartbroken, she agreed to let the doctors turn off the machines. But a few days later, Mike walked into her house totally fine, and they realized she had unknowingly decided to end someone else's life, thinking it was her brother Mike.
What? Nah, the family of the person that died, sue the hospital, please. I know that won't bring them back. Something has to happen. That's just crazy. To make a mistake like that, there has to be consequences somehow, some way.
He rode his motorcycle without a helmet, and the police gave him a fine. But he was an electrician with access to the power grid, so he checked the records and found the police station hadn't paid its bill in 3 years.
Dang, where's my tax dollars going? Why haven't they paid it in 3 years? I'm paying a lot of money in taxes and they ain't paid their bill in 3 years? What the f have they been doing?
So he shut off their electricity. For 5 hours, the police station went dark, all because they gave a fine to the wrong guy.
He's evil.
He's evil as hell.
They removed his throat cancer and carefully took a piece of his chest skin to patch the hole in his throat. But the chest skin grew hair inside his throat. Years later, the hair ended up dangling deep in his windpipe, and as he breathed in, it felt like he was choking. Doctors had to burn the hair off just so he could breathe normally again.
I'm so glad he's okay, bro. I thought he was gonna die or something. I was thinking the worst was gonna happen to bro.
When the Ninja Turtle talks, tiny motors inside the head move his eyes, and these are controlled by an off-screen puppeteer using precise switches and levers to change the turtle's expression. At the same time, an infrared sensor tracks his mouth movements as he speaks, and a radio signal sends the information back to the head, moving the turtle's mouth in exactly the same way. The whole thing is powered by a battery pack, and the actor practices dozens of times with the puppeteer, making sure it all lines up perfectly before they start shooting.
I never knew that, bro. These are things I would never find out unless I watched videos on. Like, who honestly knew that before this video?
The shovel hit something as he was digging a hole in the yard. Now, at first, they thought it was an old fence post, but then they saw the handle. Buried just 6 inches down was a sword. It was rusted and missing a chunk of the blade. But when an expert saw a picture of it, they found that it was a cavalry saber from the Civil War, meaning it had been buried in his backyard for over a century.
How much is it worth though? Like, can we sell it?
The crowd sat facing the Statue of Liberty, framed between 2 giant pillars, as a curtain was slowly raised in front. They watched as music blasted through speakers. Then, when the curtain dropped, the entire statue had disappeared? What was actually going on here? Well, the audience was sitting on a huge turntable that rotated slowly so they couldn't feel it.
Hell nah. You telling me that you getting rotated slowly and you don't know? Chat, do y'all believe that? I do not believe that, bruh.
So they couldn't feel it. And the loud music covered the sound, while a spotlight shifted with the table. This made it look like they hadn't moved, and when the curtain came down, a pillar was perfectly blocking the statue from their new view.
They just did a magic trick with the Statue of Liberty? I didn't get a permit for that.
They made a long ditch inside the Civil War prison, and if you stepped past it, the guards would shoot you. You see, outside the line was shade and water, close enough for the prisoners to see. And since they were kept in the blazing sun, the temptation to cross the line was always there. But if even just one finger crossed, soldiers shot them dead, which is why they called it the deadline. Years later, this became a term for due dates, but when your brain hears it, you still react like it's life or death.
I don't do that, but now that I know, maybe I will, bro. Maybe I will react like that.
Draw a triangle with your hands and hold it out at arm's length. Then look at something far away through the triangle, keeping both eyes open. Your brain will merge the images from both eyes into one picture. Now close one eye, then the other. One of your eyes won't be able to see the object. That's your non-dominant eye. But when the object stays perfectly in view, that's your dominant eye, the one your brain uses to line up your vision, telling you which eye to aim with.
What? Speaking from a person that actually has gun training, he's not lying. That's very true, bro.
The singer always had 10 dimes in his pocket, and the reason for this is kind of sad. You see, his son was kidnapped years prior, and all of the ransom calls had to be made from payphones. He would panic, terrified that he would run out of coins while trying to negotiate with the kidnappers. Now, after 2 days, his son was released safely. But Sinatra never forgot that fear of being helpless, so he carried exactly 10 dimes with him for the rest of his life. And when he was buried, his daughter was sure to place 10 dimes in his pocket for him.
Aw, that's actually like really sad. I wasn't expecting to see that, bro. That's actually really sad, bro.
Were hand cranked beneath the buildings, and each one was turned at exactly the same time, raising the building with people still inside. Wooden supports were stacked beneath until it reached the new, higher street level, and brand new foundations were constructed as the building remained suspended. You see, the city was originally built on a swamp, meaning the streets were constantly flooded, and this caused disease to spread around the city, so they raised the buildings away from the swamp, and Chicago still sits on those foundations to this day.
These are some random ass, useless ass facts, bruh. Like, why would I care about the origin of Chicago? If we not talking about Chief Keef, I don't care about Chicago.
The king gave each boy a seed and told them to grow the best plant they could. You see, the king was old and was trying to find an heir to the throne. One boy named Ping loved gardening. He watered his seed, gave it sun, and used the best soil. Keeping close watch, he waited for a sprout, but nothing ever grew. When it was time to show the king, the other boys had huge, colorful plants. But Ping only had his pot with no plant. He decided to bring it anyway. The king looked at every plant without saying a word until he reached Ping. Then he smiled and announced him as the winner. You see, the king had previously boiled all of the seeds so they couldn't grow, meaning he knew that every other boy had cheated and replaced their seed with a different one. But Ping was honest, and the king knew that honesty was more important than results.
That is true. That boy will become a perfect king, bruh. Is this a true story? Can I find out about this boy and how he grew up to be king? Historical evidence about this?
Thousands of dead mice wearing tiny cardboard parachutes were dropped over the jungle, and each one contained a small dose of Tylenol. You see, the jungle was full of invasive snakes, and they would slither into electrical wires, electrocuting themselves and causing massive power outages. But if they ate the mice, that tiny amount of Tylenol inside was enough to kill them. This cut down on the population and stopped the power outages.
Okay, I like that one. I learned something new, something important, bro. Everything else been kind of useless. Useless! Useless!
He was mad because he died in the game, so he researched the other gamer's identity. And after 7 months of stalking, he realized he lived just a few miles away. When he rang the doorbell, the man answered, and suddenly he pulled out a kitchen knife and stabbed the man in the chest. It missed his heart by less than an inch, and somehow the man survived. But the attacker spent 2 years in prison, all over a video game.
That's stupid. That's so stupid, bro. Like, at that point, log off the game. I don't know. It's some things in life I just can't understand. Crashing out in real life over a game and getting cyberbullied.
The bullet was shot and lodged into his chest. Now, doctors said it was too close to his heart and lungs to remove, so they just left it in. He grew up and raised a family with a bullet still inside of him, and it sat in his chest for decades without pain. But at age 85, while recovering from a car crash, he coughed, and the bullet came out after all these years.
I would have framed the bullet. Somehow, some way, that's a testament to my life. I almost died twice. A bullet in a car crash. I need that on my record, bro. Frame that and put it in a museum.
He cut open Albert Einstein's skull and stole his brain during the autopsy. Next, he sliced it into hundreds of pieces, hoping to unlock the secret of his genius.
Eat it.
Over the next 50 years, pieces of the brain was stored in basements, closets, and even car trunks. He gave some pieces to other doctors and researchers, and others were donated to a museum. But large chunks of Einstein's brain are still out there missing to this day.
Is that not illegal? How did he get the ability to take Einstein's brain?
If you crash into an electric pole and the line falls, you'll get electrocuted if you just step out of the car. That's because touching the car and the ground at the same time creates a circuit. This means the electricity will travel through the car and into your body as it tries to reach the ground. Instead, jump out with both feet together without touching the vehicle. Now, the ground around the car could still be active. And if you take regular steps, your legs could actually create another circuit. So keep your feet together, shuffle away slowly, and don't stop until you're far from the wires.
If I'm ever in a situation like this, I'm gonna try to reverse first. I'm gonna be honest, I be doing dumb shit when I'm in panic, bruh. Anything to get out the situation. I might be getting electrocuted. I'm not about to sit here and hit one of these. I'm not doing that.
If you were crushed with a hydraulic press, would it be strong enough to press you into a tiny cube? Well,
why would I want to think about something like this?
Well, your body is mostly made of water, and water can't be compressed. So you would have to remove all of the fluids by drying out completely. Then you'd have to grind up your bones and organs into fine powder. Finally, you could crush it all together, turning an entire human into a dense little cube about the size of a football.
That animation style is yuck. Where does he get these random ass questions from? How does he do the research for it?
The bullets tore through his chest in a drive-by shooting, and 6 days later, Tupac died at just 25 years old. Now, his mother didn't want a massive public funeral, so his body was immediately cremated. And some say his closest friends and family took his ashes to a beach and sprinkled them into a wrap. Then they rolled it up, lit it, and passed him around, believing it was the best way to honor his memory.
I don't know if I want my friends to do that. Chat, if y'all was to pass, would y'all give y'all friends permission to smoke you?
Drunk across the train tracks and fell asleep with his head on the rails. But within seconds, a cargo train rushed toward him. It slammed into his skull, spinning him around and dragging him beneath the train. And when it finally screeched to a stop,
He not dead. He not dead, bro. I don't see no blood. Y'all think he's still alive?
he screeched to a stop, witnesses thought he was dead. But then he stood up. You see, because he was drunk, his body was relaxed and his limbs were loose, meaning that when he was hit, he moved easily with the train's force and walked away with only a few cuts on his hand.
He gonna die in a few days, for sure. For sure, he's gone. Considering how heavy a train is, that impact against your head, you're not going with the train. Your head is getting smashed.
Place the flies in the fridge until they stop moving. Then slice a matchstick in half and glue a paper-thin wing across the top. Add tiny drops of glue to the wing, one for each fly. Then stick the dormant flies on by their bellies, all pointing in the same direction. Breathe warm air across their bodies, and as they wake up, their wings buzz back to life, and the whole plane lifts off the ground.
I'm not gonna lie, chat. I wanna try that. If I tried that and made it into a video, would you watch it? If y'all wanna see more stuff like this, let me know in the comments below. If not, I'll find out real soon. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.